This is the 217 Recovery Podcast with Corey Winfield.
I'm kind of on the outs with Little People of America.
Oh.
So I tried getting on a dating site once, and they would not let me on there because I am not a little person.
And co-host Marnie Winfield.
You're tapering yourself down from your hangover or whatever. Oh no, when that started rolling into a whole another entire day of drinking, it just didn't stop.
It is the 1st of January, 2022.
Is that weird saying that?
It is. I thought I was going to mess it up. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We did some family stuff today. It's fun. A little dinner. Mm-hmm. It's a good time. We didn't drink at all.
No.
We didn't party hard. Kind of is weird, though, because there's a couple rides that we're doing for people this coming week. And I don't know if it had anything to do with partying hard before going to treatment, but I know for a lot of people, that's the mentality. Well, might as well, get super drunk now or use a little extra because I'm going to treatment, which is, to me, a sign that you're not ready.
No.
Good luck. It's going to take a lot more than that. You have to want to not be miserable the rest of your life. And it's hard to see that when you're in the throes of it. But having that mentality should just be kind of like a red flag. Like, all right, well, hold on. Slow your roll. And it's cool that you're going to get some help. And you're going to learn something. And then when the relapse happens, hopefully you learn something from that. But you got to actually get to that point where you just are done. Mm-hmm. On our way, we had to drive to your family thing today. Our family thing today.
Right. Thank you for correcting yourself.
And it was like a couple hours, so we decided to hit a Zoom meeting, a couple of Zoom meetings there and back. And it's January, and some AA clubs will go, okay, well, it's the first month, so we're working on the first step, and they were talking about the first step and, admitting you're powerless over alcohol. Yeah, for me, that took a minute. Mm-hmm. I was one of those people who, had to go back quite a few times. So if you hear me say that about somebody not being ready and this and that, it's because this is my experience. That's what I went through.
Right.
I was that guy that was like, well, might as well get title. I usually was taking from the emergency room to treatment. I never got to go home and wait around 4 days to go to treatment. But I'm sure I would have. Mm-hmm. I would have tied one on even more hardcore than normal. But
well, I was thinking about that a lot too when that was being shared.
The first step.
The first step.
Mm-hmm.
Because in essence, the first step, right, admitting you're powerless over alcohol, lives had become unmanageable, that you're an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. That's cut and dry. The next steps is really where change happens. But the first step, that everything happens, they need to happen in a consecutively. But for me, I grew up with an alcoholic father. So I was around an alcoholic before I was one myself. Now, when is that time? When did I become an alcoholic? And there was a lady that was sharing today that was somehow, she was kind of trying to distinguish between somebody with a drinking problem and somebody who's an alcoholic, if they're one and the same, or if one's different from the other, or does it even matter? For me, I knew I didn't want to be an alcoholic like my dad. I was just, the age when I started drinking heavily was an age that a lot of people start drinking heavily, which was in college. And so I talk about this a lot, I just kind of pawned it off on reasoning behind why I was drinking like an alcoholic, if you want to call it that. And then when it ever transformed into me being an alcoholic, I was already past the point where, I knew my body was dependent on it. And that was, I don't know when it happened. It wasn't like overnight, but it was sure it wasn't that long of an amount of time in terms of days or months. And then when I recognized that, I couldn't change. And then the efforts, the trying to stay clean and sober and then not wanting to and relapsing and trying to stay clean and sober and just saying, F it, forget it. And then it got to the point where I was like, yeah, I can admit I'm an alcoholic. And this is just how things are. It was like, this is how it's going to be for me, because I've tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. And that period of time was a long period of time, that ups and downs. But in terms of like saying it and meaning that you're going to do something about it, that didn't happen until my last time when I went to rehab. And since then, 2 and something years ago. But like, that first step is a big deal.
I think for me, it was hard to admit it because I didn't want to be what people describe as alcoholics, and the lady in the meeting that was sharing her story kind of said the same thing about her father was an alcoholic and he was homeless and he died on the street. That is an alcoholic. She had tons of money in the bank. She had a job, Did she have a drinking problem? Probably. Yeah. Clearly. But she didn't want to be labeled as that alcoholic. And I'm kind of the same way, where I don't want to be labeled an alcoholic. When I go to meetings, I say, hi, I'm Corey. I'm a person in recovery. It might slip every once in a while. I'm like, I'm an alcoholic, but I don't like that term. To me, that's negative. And I don't want to put anything negative on me. I don't need any more. So for me to, flip into a positive light, that's what I do. And if it had been an option for me, to not admit that I was, or if I just could admit that I had a problem, and would I be willing to give something a try to change my life in different ways where it'll be pretty much promised that my life will be better for me? Yeah. I mean, I think if it's just worded a little different sometimes for some people. Other people, they need to be told they're a dirty dog and that they've done horrible things and that this is the only way to change.
Yeah.
But just for me, I don't think the win. I think that did hamper me in my recovery because I didn't want to be labeled an alcoholic. I didn't want to be that. I refused to admit that, because I didn't want to be a bad person. So I don't know. And that lady kind of said that too. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of where I was coming from. And, you can do whatever you want. You can staple your eyelids open if you want. If that's going to keep you sober, man, do whatever. But I'm just saying, for me, not feeling like I was a bad person or just unsavable, or because then that was the thing too. Once you're labeled an alcoholic, I thought, well, you can never come back from that. I'll never be anybody good,
Well, and I think that brings us to like the whole big picture of living a life of recovery is that, when people are dwell on this fact, like I am an alcoholic and, my life has become unmanageable. And okay, part of that is true for like the foundation of what kind of got me there. That's why I don't drink today, is because I, as a disease, I have substance use disorder. Like I can't drink alcohol. Therefore, I guess you want to call it alcoholic. Yeah. But to identify with I'm a person in recovery is a whole different kind of framing that feels better. I mean, it's more positive. It's more, I don't want to say like, it feels like it's more like of a commitment, like I'm living in recovery. It's not just I am this period,
Yeah. And, he's an alcoholic. That tells me nothing. That tells me
I'm a brunette.
You still drink? Yeah. Like, it's just, you're a recovering alcoholic. Oh, okay. Well, no, I'm just in recovery. That's what I live my life like that. And, you said earlier too, like, my life has become unmanageable. Maybe that helped me back. Maybe that held you back. Maybe that holds a lot of people back, because at first when I probably thought, okay, I do have a problem. And when people would say something to me like, hey man, you worry me. Well, why would I worry you? I have a job. My life's not unmanageable.
I'm managing the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Well, look at me.
And I'm drunk. So what? I'm better than those other people who couldn't handle it. Would I have caught it earlier if, I didn't start thinking about that? Like, oh no, my life's manageable. Holding on by a string, like barely. But I'm holding on.
And this brings us to the progressive disease. It doesn't just all fall apart in one night. You know?
Same thing with somebody smokes their first joint or takes their first hit of meth or, uses heroin. The first time, I mean, they're probably just normal people, I mean, every time I did another drug, I was already drunk. So
Right.
alcohol does lead to that. And I think it was one of the guys in the meeting today too. I kind of chuckled as he was talking about weed and how he thought, I'll just do this. Because he said hard drugs, and I use parentheses, little air quotes, were his thing. And then he thought, well, I'll just drink then, I'm not alcoholic, he said. And they said same thing with weed. He thought, oh, well, I'll just smoke weed because, that's not bad. But he determined and figured out the hard way that each of those things led him back to his drug of choice.
Yeah.
Because those other things weren't what he wanted. They didn't work.
That ship has sailed. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like if someone's a heroin addict, I go, hey, man, here's a beer. You think they're just going to look at me like, you're stupid. What, huh?
Right. Here's a fix for you.
Yeah, why would
Have
I do
this
that?
Bud Light.
Oh, it's okay if you drink this. Can I drink 40 of them? Like that's still not going to work for me. And then the next day, boom, they're going to go figure out what they need and get it. So I have friends that are like, oh, I just smoke weed. All right, man, good luck. I'm telling you. From my experience, for people I've seen, it doesn't work, and I've never seen somebody not smoke weed and be like, damn it, my life has just gone to shit since I quit smoking weed. You might be agitated, you might be irritated, and that's because you're probably going to feel like or realize that, yeah, marijuana is addictive. What? No, man, it's from the earth. No. No. I remember sitting at a guy's house and dog shit all over the floor because I needed some weed. Why in the F would I sit through that? Because I needed it. I needed my weed, man. And if you run out, you can't find any. How pissed off do you get? Real pissed off. It's because your brain's wanting it. You're hooked. You're addicted to it. So I'm not a doctor, but I got some experiences. So I just take my word for it. And yeah, that's the thing, man. I can only do what I can do for myself, and I can share experiences, and maybe it might help some people. Who knows?
Came to my attention when a lady was sharing and saying that she had gotten sober because for her husband and her child. And it was in that sentence, like, I got sober because, and that the story was not over. That there was like, not just like, and then this brought me to here years and years and years later. And it was just like ding for me because, and I shared with you in the car because we were muted, but I was like, that's it. It's like across the board, it's got to be for you. At the end of the day, you have to be doing it for yourself, for you and your own well-being, in your own soul, in your own body, in your own mind, for your own life, to make those changes actually happen and stick. If it's for somebody else, it's fake. It's not real. And there's no foundation for the rest of your life. At least that was the same. That was what it was for me.
And when you're quitting too, and say, oh, I just smoke weed. I'm not smoking weed no more. Now I'm irritated. Or therapists. That's what they're for. And AA meetings, use them. That's what they're for. They're for whatever you want to use them for, really. They'll tell you, well, keep it on topic. Keep it AA related. Everything's related. Anything can make you drink. So just remind them of that. Or just use it for what you need, man. And if you have something that's just burning you that day, I'm telling you, they're not going to mind anyway. And they've been there before too. One lady said that when she goes to a new AA club, one that she's never been at before. This was one, I think, in San Jose. She said she got anxiety, or she just felt, I can't remember the word she used exactly, but she felt uncomfortable. And I don't think I've ever felt uncomfortable going to a new AA meeting. Like once I can find it, half the time, that's a pain in the ass.
That is frustrating.
Sometimes. And I'm like, put some signs up, MFers. They're like, no, we don't
or
do
like,
that.
you hope that it is going on.
Yeah.
Big deal.
And I'm sure, I wonder how many men.
Looks like you're trying to break into some church. Like, there's like, is there lights on? It looks like I see footsteps through the snow to this back door.
I wonder how many men have shown up to a women's group. I have.
Or vice versa.
I bet. Yeah, but the women I've seen show up to men only, they've been welcomed in.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, almost I lasered out of the building. Get out of here, penis. I was like, oh, well, the thing said here, well, it's wrong. You know, that's how I was treated. But I bet I'd say 70% of men who go to AA, maybe even more, have accidentally stumbled upon a women's group and then lasered on out of there.
I think that I was at a women's group in Suttons Bay once, and a male showed up, and they were like, "Oh, this is a women's meeting, but you're welcome to come in." No, there was no lasers. There's no lasers.
They're sharpening knives.
No.
You're welcome to come in. We're just talking about removal of penises.
You think that women's meetings are just about men hating?
I don't know. It sounded like it to me as I was getting lasered out. It like picked me up and just threw me across the room to the door. I know women are mean, man.
No.
I was like, all right, you dry drugs. That was me getting lasered out. No, but it doesn't.
Oh my God.
Up and dudes are like, Corey, you got it right, man. There's so many that have been lasered out or welcomed in while sharpening knives.
No, that's definitely.
That would be funny though if you went to one.
I mean, they exist for a reason, but men's groups exist, for a reason as well, right?
You promise me if you're ever at a women's only meeting and a guy walks in and you guys are like, welcome in, and then like, I want you to take over the conversation. Like, all right, now back to the topic of penis removal. Now, are you going to do it when you sleep in or what? And see if that dude stays around. You promise me?
You want me to do that?
Yeah, I want you to. If that ever happens, I want you to think about this podcast.
I will think about it.
And I want you to just...
I will bring it up, but not in that way. I would bring it up, absolutely.
No. If I don't want you just in there talking about penises.
No,
hey, dudes in the group. Hey, we're talking about penises. What's up? No, I wanted it to be like funny, like kind of scare him a little bit, make him feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
All right, back to the show. Mm-hmm. So that was my thought on the first step, just about changing the way, really kind of look at it and more of keeping it. And I'm sure, like I said, the AA thing, I'm sure that works for a lot of people. If it works for you, do it. But if you have a family member or friend who's like, who I don't want to say has a lot of pride, but who's to this point where maybe he still has his house or his car or his wife hasn't left yet or her husband hasn't left yet, maybe pull them aside and be like, look, having a problem with alcohol is very common, or having a drug problem is a common thing. And it doesn't make you a bad person.
Right.
You're going to end up doing some crazy stuff that you're not going to be proud of if you keep drinking. You keep using, stuff will happen. It doesn't mean you're a weak person to ask for help. And you don't have to be labeled an alcoholic. You don't have to be labeled a junkie. Right. You can just be a person in recovery.
Right.
You approach it like that.
That's exactly it.
That's my thoughts for the day. Happy New Year.
Mm-hmm. Happy New Year.
Is there anything you want to talk about?
No, I mean, we had a bunch of hours of meetings. I think one of ours was in Canada that we went to. Mm-hmm. And the other one was New York. And then
San Jose.
You could have picked one person who shared from each of those places and put them in the same, in the different meeting, different place, and it would have been never even know the difference. So don't be intimidated and don't be like, I really need a meeting, I need an event, whatever. There's none near me right now today. Get online, Google AA meetings online now. There's an intergroup, literally click on it and it will show the next meetings that are starting within the next half an hour. And nice. It will tell you passwords if you need passwords, or a lot of them don't. Read about them, join them.
You should put that on our website.
I will.
So yeah, if you're looking for a meeting, 217recovery.com.
We didn't even get to scroll through them all until I was just like, this one sounds good.
Yeah, we'll put them on the app too.
Yeah.
If you got the 217 Recovery app, they'll be there for you. Mm-hmm. Well, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Make the most of it.
Yes, do that for sure. Great things coming to 2022.